What's going on, people? It's Josh here from Jed's Fitness, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about refeed days and cheat days. I'm going to be explaining which one's better and why, and I'm also going to be telling you how to implement them to get the best results whilst dieting. So I'll start off by going over what exactly is a refeed. Now, a refeed day is essentially a day where we're going to be taking an increased amount of carbohydrates in. So our fats on these days will stay relatively low. For me, it's going to be sort of 20 to 30 grams. Our protein is going to stay moderate, but maybe slightly less than average. So around 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, maybe a bit less. And then the rest of our calories are just going to be filled up with carbohydrates. So this could range anywhere between sort of 500 all the way up to 1,000 grams of carbs, depending on the size of the individual. Now, a cheat day, on the other hand, is more of an old school method used before any of the evidence-based data came out. And what a cheat day is a day of eating. Basically, it's a free day where you can eat whatever you like. So generally you'll be eating high calories, a lot of fat, a lot of carbs, and just generally a lot of food. So when we're speaking about cheat days and refeed days, we'll only be using these during the cutting phase, so when we're restricting calorie intake. When we put our body in a calorie deficit, there's a number of negative adaptations that take place, both physically and hormonally. So the first one I want to speak about is leptin. Now, leptin is also known as the starvation hormone, and this plays two vital roles in the body. So it's going to control your energy output, so it has a role in metabolism and also with your appetite along with ghrelin. So when you're dieting, when you're in a calorie deficit, leptin levels actually drop. So you'll have increased cravings for high carb, high sugar, high fatty foods, and also your energy output will be reduced. The further that you put yourself into a deficit, so the longer that you're dieting for, the further that your energy output will be reduced. And this is through things like physical activity, but also just general daily living, energy expenditure through things like NEAT. So you won't be moving around as much throughout the day because your body's trying to conserve energy. Now, leptin is primarily stimulated by glucose, in other words carbohydrates. So when we have a refeed day and we're intaking a high amount of carbohydrates, generally some of the negative adaptations will be reversed. So leptin is then increased again, meaning that we'll refill muscle glycogen, liver glycogen, we'll have improved production of growth hormone, T3, and also testosterone, and it helps reduce things like cortisol, which is a stress hormone in the body, which is a negative hormone. We don't want high levels of cortisol. So yeah, which one is better to use, a refeed or cheat day? Well, from what I've just said about leptin being stimulated by glucose, it sort of seems silly to be intaking a high amount of calories from the other two macronutrients, so from protein and fat, as they don't really play a role in stimulating leptin. When we have a cheat day, we're just going to be intaking excess calories from the fats and protein that is then going to be stored as fat. So what a lot of people do is they're dieting throughout the week, come to the weekend, they have their cheat day, say on a Saturday, and they're just going to reverse all of the progress, the hard-earned progress that they've managed to achieve throughout that week. Now, I do find full days of cheating actually to be quite dangerous, and people can end up developing eating disorders and just generally binging when they're starving on the weekend. And you're sort of just going around in circles and never making any real progress. Whereas with a refeed day, because it's only the high amount of carbs that you're intaking, the calories are controlled, it's a much more effective way of reversing some of those adaptations. Now, there's still a large amount of reasonably tasty food that you can eat on a refeed day. So you can have pancakes, bagels, different types of cereals, anything that's high in carb that keeps the fats pretty low. So now I'm going to tell you exactly how to implement a refeed day. It's going to differ from person to person. It can depend on genetics, your experience level, and also your body fat level. So to start off, the start of a cut, say for someone starting around 15% body fat, I would recommend using a refeed day sort of every 2 weeks. And then as body fat levels drop, as you get further into the cut, you can increase the frequency of your refeed days. So I say sort of 10 to 12%, you could be using a refeed every week, so on a weekly basis. Anything lower than 10%, say for someone who's doing a contest prep, a refeed day can actually be used every 3 to 5 days, as they'll be a lot leaner and will need refeeding more often. Now I know what you're thinking, there's still those days where you're craving a pizza, a big tub of Ben & Jerry's, or those chocolate cookies. But I'm going to tell you the best way around this, how you can still be flexible whilst minimizing fat gain. So as opposed to having a whole day of cheating, what I do with my clients is I have one day of the week where they can have a cheat meal. Now throughout the rest of this day, calories will be reduced, so I'll try and minimize the fat intake throughout that morning. Also keep their carbs a bit lower, and they'll miss one meal out. Protein will stay around average, and I'll also make sure they're eating plenty of fruit and veg to get those micronutrients in. So what will happen, they'll have a reduced calorie intake throughout the day, and then when they get to their last meal, say in the evening, then they're allowed to have a takeaway or a set meal that they've chosen to eat that day. There's a few rules that come into play when we're speaking about cheat meals. So you're only allowed to eat the food in one sitting, so as soon as you get up and leave the table, that's it, you can't go back for more naughty food. Any food that's left over has to be chucked in the bin, so you don't go back the next day and have a little nibble on it. And also I do sometimes try and get them to do add in some extra cardio just to counteract some of the calories to be consumed. Now this is essentially calorie budgeting, so when you've sort of got the hang of this, you'll find that you can be a lot more flexible, take calories from the next day and chip and change accordingly. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you found it informative, I hope you learned a bit about the difference between refeeds and cheat days, and now next time maybe you'll give it a second thought before having a full day of binging and ruining your hard work throughout the week. So thanks for watching, guys. Please give me a thumbs up if you like the video, get subscribed for more content. Peace out, take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next one.